On the BetQL network.
You know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back out my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
Goodness, how many times do I have to fight this guy? I mean, at this point, it's like Max Holloway and Volkanovski. I beat him every single week, and then he keeps coming back. So here we go again. Segment's called "You're Gonna Fight Me," Brendan Tobin and me, the sports machine, Sean Levine. Speaking of Max Holloway, I'm starting to think that Max is going to be champion again. Like, he's knocking everybody out. Everybody loves him. Dana loves him, so he's going to get a chance. You're going to fight me if I say Max Holloway, blessed, is going to be best again. He's going to have the belt.
I'm not going to fight you on that because I think there are plenty of combinations that get in there. There are also plenty of ones that could give him trouble. Like if Volkanovski wins the rematch against Topuria, I guess that means we got to go to a trilogy if, Topuria gets his mind around whoever the hell he does want to fight. But if he fights Topuria, no, I like Max Holloway, man. I think that the young gun's going to be in for a rude awakening with what he's able to do. I think I just got to give the nod to Volk because stylistically he's just had the rivalry. But man, what he had that moment, whether he wins the belt or doesn't win the belt again, he's really just thrilled us all with so many great moments.
Already a trilogy. What would that be? A quadrilogy?
Quadrilogy.
What do you? A quadrilogy. All right, thank you. You're gonna fight me if I say I think Dustin Poirier is going to be champion again. Also, the odds are crazy. He's like a 3-4 to 1 underdog. He's got the fight. He's got the chance coming up at 302 against Islam Makhachev. I know DP's your boy, trains in your backyard down there in South Florida, not literally, figuratively. You're going to fight me if I say the Diamond is going to be champion. And then I also think there's a chance he retires. What say you?
Not going to fight you on it. I know one thing I'm definitely going to do is bet on him because the odds are crazy, and I think that you have to put your money on Dustin Poirier in a situation like that. He's too good. And I think we have seen, like, look, I get what you were saying earlier in the show to our boy Rush about, hey, is Islam on the route to being there with Khabib? Maybe. I still think there's more to do just because his his lead up and vault to the title was a little bit weirder than Khabib's was. But Khabib, we saw Khabib be so dominant, and I've already seen Islam nearly lose fights. So I do still think there are some things that he has to answer going into this matchup against Dustin.
One thing that I've learned about life, there's still a lot that I have to learn, but one thing I've learned is how important timing is. And I think that's the question with Khabib is, timing-wise, did he get out at the perfect time because he had already taken out Conor and Gaethje and Poirier and essentially cleared out the division at that point? Or can we point to him now and say, yeah, he's not a top 5 all-time fighter, though, because he got out when he was still in his prime? I understand we can't have it both ways, right? If we're going to crush Tony Ferguson and Donald Cerrone for the way they got out, and I would say that happens more often than not, where a fighter gets out a few fights too late, and some people look back at their career and they remember the guy or the gal, like maybe a Valentina Shevchenko or an all-time great, maybe not the fighter they actually were, and that's unfortunate. I don't hold that against Khabib. You're going to fight me if I say Khabib is a top 5 all-time fighter?
No, I'm not going to fight you on that. I think he's definitely got the credentials to be in the discussion of it for sure. Just because of how dominant he was. And I think the thing I will always hold on to about him is he looked like he was getting even better when he went out on top. Like some guys like George St. Pierre, they look like, hey, they're getting out at the right time. Even though he did come back to win the middleweight championship. There was a long break there. I'm talking about the end of his welterweight reign against Johnny Hendricks. Like, you're like, he's getting out at the right time. And with Khabib, I didn't.
What fighters do you think, sorry to cut you off, have left with too much gas left in the tank? Because that doesn't really happen. Like, these guys pretty much, it's what they do. It's what they love to do, right? It's weird making a living getting punched in the face and choked out, but most of the time these guys hang around. I'm trying to think of somebody that got out. Maybe Amanda Nunes comes to mind.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the only boxing one I can come up with is Andre Ward. I mean, Andre Ward won undefeated, still had some options, but really, and as I've talked to him a couple of times, like he was really, really tempted to come back for some opportunities, but stayed true to his word, stayed retired, but still probably like, when he left was like a top 10 for sure, pound for pound fighter on the planet.
Remember when I confused Mickey Ward and Andre Ward live here on the BetQL
Sure
network?
did.
That
Yes, I did.
That wasn't my finest moment. Yeah. Connor and Chandler going at it in a couple of months in the summertime. Fingers crossed. I say it, and I only half believe that it's actually going to happen. You're going to fight me if I say there's no way that one gets into the championship rounds. Like, that one's less than 3. Wouldn't be surprised if it's done in 1.
I'm not going to fight you on that. You've been making some good points today. I got to be honest with you. But no, I mean, I would be pretty surprised just because I don't know what Connor's going to look like. I don't know what that gas tank is going to use. He's a guy who notoriously doesn't really usually have a good gas tank. And now we're talking years off, injuries, unless he's just been doing a lot of cardio, but really it looks like he's been doing a lot of powerlifting.
He's been doing a lot of something, but I don't think it's cardio, bud.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't disagree with you. I think that one, whoever wins, I do feel like it will be inside the distance.
Yeah, I don't see that one going very long. I'm really leaning toward Chandler by knockout in the first round. But again, it's such a wild card with Conor McGregor. Maybe I would take that now that you talk about his gas tank in the second or the third. It feels like the deeper that one gets, more of an advantage for Chandler. It is weird because as great as Conor is, he's always had that same flaw. Every single time. I would say the third round has been kind of his bugaboo where he gets there. It's like, he's out of gas. And that's part of the reason why we love him, because he throws everything he has in those first couple of rounds. Just ask Aldo Jr. sometimes in the first handful of seconds. Anthony Smith has been talking about Alex Pereira, saying he wants to fight him one day. He could see their paths crossing. Are you going to fight me if I say he would get shredded if he stepped into an octagon against Alex Pereira? What is Anthony Smith talking about?
Look, I'll never question that guy's toughness. He really is willing to step in there with everybody. Hey, could have taken a penalty championship if he wanted to. Could have done the old Aljo against John Jones, right? But man, I mean, Pereira just looks like the scariest thing in the sport right now. And I just don't know what he's got for him, because it feels like it just feels like Anthony has taken so much punishment. That's a guy where you wonder. It's kind of been a theme of the night. Like, how many more do they have left? I really do wonder with Anthony, how many does he have left? Because he's been in some really, really hellacious wars and one of the tougher guys out there.
That's an issue with Anthony because he had that famous fight it was Glover Teixeira, right? Where his teeth were breaking literally during the fight. And he was talking about it. And then afterwards, he said he would have fired anybody that would have thrown in the towel in his corner. He's also got a pretty good connection with the UFC and Dana White, where he's on the desk sometimes. So you just wonder, like, who's going to be the person that's important enough to get in Anthony Smith's ear? And frankly, they keep putting him in these big fights. Like, if they're going to pay him, put him on a pay-per-view. I guess, blame Anthony Smith for going out there. But yeah, he's another one of those guys that we love. And speaking of, I remember when I asked him that question, did it ever go through your mind to just take the knee and not fight the rest of the fight against John Jones? And he said at the time, he was like, no, dude, of course. It was almost like I offended him. He was like, no, I wasn't going to win a championship that way. You'd have to think at some point over time, he's sitting in a hotel room by himself. He's in the jacuzzi, whatever. He's had to have thought, I could have been the champion and I could have beat John Jones.
Yeah. And I mean, like, look, nobody liked Aljo for the way that he did it, but it turned into a pretty long reign, So, like, who's to say the next time he goes in there, he doesn't do it, but he is loved. I do think that, I don't know if he's like one of the most beloved, but I think respected is probably the better word for Anthony Smith. I think he's well respected by everybody.
Great tattoos also. And a Midwest kid from Omaha, Nebraska. Sean O'Malley, speaking of champions, looks like he's going to go at it with Merab. Still waiting on that date. I think O'Malley's going to knock him out. I know we had on Dylan Rush earlier in the show, and he took the Merab side of things. We all love Merab's coat on this show. But O'Malley, to me, like, I'm done asking questions. I think he does the same thing he did to Aljo and knocks him out.
I'm not done asking questions, but it has really nothing to do with Sean. It's just because that division is so deep. And I do think that there are a lot of guys that present style matches, and that's the fun of it. And, all this talk about jumping around and jumping divisions, like, I want to see what a long range champion can do against different styles of guys. What where are those weaknesses? Where are those buttons pressed? You look at a guy like Israel Adesanya, and he had to take on all types of different guys, Robert Whitaker and Pereira and Marvin Vettori, and he took on everybody. And Kamaru Usman, same way. You take on all these different types of guys. So I do think Rush is right. Like, it'll be interesting to see a guy who's got something a little bit different up their sleeve for a matchup with Sean. Barab's just looked untouchable lately. He really has. He's been lived up to his nickname, which he stole from you. And
He did.
I don't know. I don't know if I could see that guy losing. I don't know if he's going to get knocked out. I think that he's going to win a decision over Sean. I think Sean might have his moments, but I just can't see that dude losing. He's just been an absolute tank lately.
If you missed that interview with Dylan Rush from Rush MMA, check that out. We've got Andrew Gambas actually coming up next from Bets and Picks MMA right here on the BetQL network. My boy Charles Oliveira lost to Arman Sarukian, and I'm got to be honest with you, I'm still bitter. I really am. I'm still bitter about that. I can admit
you're happy he got his money.
Yeah.
Are you happy he's got his purse held from the commission?
Oh, extremely happy. Like, I hope that I'm on Sarukian. If you don't know what BT's talking about, on the walkout, Sarukian tried to punch a fan, and now they aren't paying him. They'll end up paying him. UFC does this sometimes. They hold the money over the guy's head. They're doing it right now. Actually, with Sarukian and with Diego
the commission's
Lopez.
holding it. The UFC's not holding it. The commission is.
Correct. But almost every time, I can't think of too many examples where ultimately the guy gal doesn't end up getting their money, because Diego Lopez, this one's even weirder. Diego Lopez won his fight, jumped over the octagon, had a few words for Dana White, got back in the octagon. Now they're withholding his money also. Like, how come some guys can't? I once saw, and I'm not talking about Khabib style, like you can't go flying eagle right at Dylan Dennis, but Jose Aldo Jr., that guy almost made it up into the second level one time when he won in Brazil. Like, what are we talking about? Why are we holding these guys money?
I don't know. It seems really stupid. Like, I think commissioners sometimes, like, they just maybe had a light meeting schedule, and they're like, hey, we got to have these meetings. Otherwise, what are we paid for? So
seriously,
I'm serious. Like, you ever like go into a work meeting and you're just like, what are we doing? And it's like, it just feels like you're having a meeting to have a meeting. Like, that's what that feels like.
I hope my boss in Kansas City's not listening right now, but should I say 90% of them? Yeah. Guys walked into a meeting before. He's like, oh, glad you guys got here an hour before you usually show up. So, what do you think we could do better? It's like, really? Was there not any sort of a plan here? Did you even know this meeting was supposed to happen, boss?
I got to be honest with you. In the years that I've been doing 10 to 2, that's been probably the best perk about that, is that every meeting is during 10 to 2. So I haven't gone to a meeting in 4 years.
Meetings are from 10 to 2, the same way that lunch is at noon and dinner's at 6 p.m. Like, certain things just happen at certain times. You're right. That is a benefit of doing a daytime radio. I was saying Charles Oliveira lost Arman Sarukian, and I'm still bitter about it, obviously. At this point, I'm ready to say Oliveira's not ever going to fight for the belt again. And he was I don't know if I want to say a great champion. He was a very good champion. Defended that thing for years, knocked people out, submitted people, all-time most submissions, all-time most finishes, but he's never going to fight for the belt again. You going to fight me?
Yeah, I'm going to fight you. I think he can get back to the belt. I mean, like, he almost choked out Sarukian. He was this close, dude. He was that close. I'm not going to say never. Never's a long time. Did you think Dustin Poirier was ever going to fight for the belts again?
I'm
not trolling you. But, like, never, the Charles Oliveira is never going to fight for the belt again. That's crazy talk. He definitely could get back to fighting for the belt.
What if I said Conor McGregor's never going to fight for a belt again? You fight me on that?
I would fight you less on that because he doesn't win very much. But I think if anybody was going to get the pass of, hey, you win a fight, Did Austin Lane got knocked down the first round, Jake? Oh, second round. All right. Well, listen. Good for Austin Lane. Good for Austin Lane. Hey, parlays in play, dude. We need a span finish. You get that 2-1 parlay.
Austin Lane, man, they're just throwing that guy out there to get knocked out. It's almost getting funny.
He's a very nice man, by the way. Very, very. He's a sweetheart, but he has not had a great UFC run.
No, I'm sure he's a great guy. It's just doesn't have a great chin. I just calls him like I see him. Coming up next, friend of the show from Bets and Picks MMA, Andrew Gombis stops by right here on Tapped Out.